YouTubers, and welcome to the Neoprene Playman. I'm your host, Matt Piak, and today this is the weekly roundup. So, essentially, what I'm going to be doing here is just kind of going through the last week of gaming for me, what I played, what I've kind of what I've been into, maybe some new content, things to check out, things that I came across. So, um, this won't be nearly as detailed as some of my other postings, and I'm going to try and keep it under 10 minutes, but we'll see how that goes. So to start out with, just covering the games I played this week. I got to play The Reckoners, a Brandon Sanderson novel that was reinvented into a game. Um, and I've been really excited to play this one at some point. I don't personally have it in my collection, but one of my buddies got the all-in edition, and man, it's pretty sweet. The game trays are phenomenal. It's pretty engaging. We ended up playing it twice. We were playing two players. The first game was so-so, but then we ended up running it back and we two-handed it. So we were playing four characters between the two of us, and that was quite an enjoyable experience. And it was good given that the Kickstarter for the Reckoners is currently going on. I wanted to check it out and see if it's something I should late pledge or something in the future, if my budget permits. So that was a good time. I got to play Lost Cities with my wife. We played two full games, which are like 3 rounds apiece. So I guess depending on how you add it up, it might be 6 games or it might be two. But this is one I just traded for. Fantastic little game, quick back and forth. You're adding up kind of what you're discovering of these lost cities as you're an archaeologist going through. It's pretty abstracted, but it's just a really engaging game. And this is one that I can just find myself pulling out all the time. In fact, I think Heather, my wife, wants to play this later this afternoon, so might be getting to the table again here. Another game I acquired in that trade from about a week and a half ago was Air, Land, and Sea, and I finally got this one to the table. Um, it's a little kind of area majority game. You're playing these different cards to different sides of the table as an air, land, or sea, depending on what type of units you play. You can play them face down as generic units, like this, where they can go into either, and you're just trying to have the most points or most strength on your side of the board when the game ends. But what's really unique about this one is that at any time you can withdraw from the battle, which gives your opponent less points. It actually kind of gave me a little bit of a feel of Fox in the Forest. It's not a trick-taking game in any way, but there's kind of this constant looking at the points, trying to figure out what you want to do. And I feel that in Fox in the Forest too, which I'm not going to go into too much detail here, but essentially it's a trick-taking game where you're rewarded points based on how many tricks you take, and if you take too many, you end up actually losing. And so just kind of that idea of monitoring the points and trying to make the best decision throughout the game at a two-player game really kind of gave me that same feel. So this was a pretty fun experience. I got Guardians to the table. I've been bringing this one up all the time. It is one of my favorite games. I love it. I think it's incredibly under talked about. It's a Plat Hat Games production. They do great jobs when putting together something that's two-player head-to-head going at each other. And this is probably my favorite production they've put out. I don't know why nobody's talking about it, or maybe other people don't feel the same way, but there's a certain amount of thinkiness to it that brings it to another level for me. I also got Thanos Rising to the table. This is one of my, I guess, guilty pleasures. I know you're just chucking dice and maybe it's a luck fest, but oh my gosh, battling with Thanos, the odds are always against you. You always feel like you're going to lose, and then you get this small little bit of hope, and then you just get smashed. And so, had a really good time showing this to one of my buddies. He had never played before, and he had never played something like this, so it was a really good time just sitting there chucking dice, trying to figure out if we could win. Sadly, we could not, which is often the case. But either way, still get it to the table all the time. Anybody asks me, hey, do you want to play Thanos Rising? I'm in. It's always a fun time. It's always good to just chuck some dice and relax. Um, Now, Spirit Island, I haven't played yet this week, but I have plans to play it later today. So I wanted to be sure I brought it up. Um, this is a pretty heavy co-op game where you're playing spirits and you're fighting against the colonists. It kind of flips the normal board game narrative on its head, right? Usually you're the colonists, you're trying to conquer land, and in this one you are the spirits trying to aid the people, the Dahan, in protecting their land from the colonists. So I really like that narrative switch up, and I think it's a really fun game, and so I'm excited to show that to a friend today. And that's pretty much it for what I've been playing this week. Um, if you have any questions about the games mentioned, put them below. But otherwise, we're gonna move on to some other things that have been going on this week. So as you know, I often put in the spend my money segment what I'm looking to spend my money on, and well, I spent my money, well, some of it this week. I did back the North Providence. It's a John Cloudis game. It's from Small Box Games. Really small Kickstarter. It was only a 10-day campaign. Just saw the art, was really captivated by it. Saw it was by John Cloudis, and was like, I gotta at least try it out. I gotta figure out a way to get this. So what's really cool is it's all produced domestically as well, and so the backers should be receiving it sometime in November, which I think is a crazy fast turnaround given that it's September. We'll see if it hits, but anyway, excited about this one. It was $25 and $5 for shipping, so I'm $30 out of my budget there. So I'm down to I think $57.86 for the rest of the month. And we're already to the 19th of September, so I might actually be saving some dollars moving into next month. We'll see how that goes. All right, and then just a couple things to keep your eyes on. In Too Deep, um, they rebooted their campaign. They relaunched it on the 15th. This is one um, in the original campaign. I was a day one backer, and I was super excited about it. I'm still pretty pumped about it. It's a cyberpunk theme. You are essentially going into the minds of criminals and controlling them to do things, to gain intel. Um, and some of the ways you have to do that is you have to make them do heinous crimes, and from doing that, you're going to get these. I forget what they call it in the game, but essentially, you're going to get points against you. And if you have the most at the end of the game, out of all the players, you've gone in too deep. And you're going to take a huge hit to your points. So there's kind of this push your luck element of, do I go for the extra? Do I do something even worse and get those extra points that are going to count against me at the end of the game if I acquire too many of them, or do I hang back and do less bad things and hope that that negative um, amount hits somebody else? So that's In Too Deep. Looking at that, I'll probably once again I'll look into this further, and I'll be able to better explain what's all going on there. But just thought I'd bring it up. And then Untamed Spirit Strike launched earlier this week, which I'm a backer of the original game. This one, it looks interesting. It adds, I think it's gorillas or apes. It adds snakes, which all the snakes have arms, so that's kind of interesting. It adds deer, and then if you're a Kickstarter backer, you will get the squirrels as well. And so they do upgrade your box as well, depending on what level you go in. If you are a past backer, you can get a box that's going to hold everything. But you can also go all in now and get everything, including the first game, and they have it so it's printed in all foil if you want it. Personally, I don't know if I would like having all foil cards, but you'll definitely be seeing this one around on Spend My Money Mondays, but thought I'd mention it here. Last thing that came up and just caught my eye recently was this game, Armada Strigoi. So apparently, once again, I don't know all the ins and outs. This is pretty new to my radar. This is a cooperative game, which I love co-ops, so excited about this just because of that. But on top of it, this Oh, and this is being shown from Miniature Market. So if you're looking at the prices and wondering where I'm at, this is Miniature Market, which I'm in no way sponsored by them, but that's where I found the game. Um, it's based on a heavy metal band called Powerwolf. I think they're German, and they have this backstory that has to do with werewolves and vampires and all sorts of things. And so apparently, this game is you playing out kind of the story of their rock band. And I imagine this is them here. Um, I've never heard of Powerwolf. I've never listened to their music. Maybe I'll hop on YouTube and see if I can find some. But yeah, it just looked really interesting. Kind of a dungeon crawly game with werewolves. I don't really have anything like this. It looks like a game that I would want to bring out for Halloween, which, what a better time than right now to buy a game that would be good for Halloween. So that one definitely caught my eye. That's pretty much it for what's popped up this week. Some new content that I've really enjoyed. There is a Should You Back It video out by Board Game Co. for both Monsters on Board, which I brought up last week in the Spend My Money. Still looks super interesting. I think he brings them up some interesting points. And he does say that he thinks it's a good value going in on it. That said, there's a lot of games that are good value that I don't end up backing. Additionally, he put out a Into Deep Should You Back and says similar things. It's a good value. Go in on the deluxe. Don't get the retail. Same old, same old. But that being said, both videos are entertaining. They provide a lot of insight about the games. Highly recommend both of those. And then lastly, King of Average, I think yesterday just put out a 40-minute update. And man, he follows Kickstarter pretty hardcore. And he does a great job of looking at miniatures, which is something that usually I don't play that many miniature games, but I always think they're really cool to look at. And so he always has connections to the coolest miniatures coming out that are on Kickstarter. So um, yeah, if you got time, head over to YouTube, check those videos out. King of Average, Board Game Co. Both I feel like put out some really quality videos this week. So that's it for now, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful weekend.